Justice Minister Ronald Lamola has named Makgothi Thobakgale as Acting National Correctional Services Commissioner following Arthur Fraser's departure. He's been described as a passionate and hard-working public servant who has 15 years' experience in the sector, having also worked as a Deputy Director General in the Public Works Department. And joining us now is DS Justice spokesperson Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach and Popcru spokesperson Richard Mamabolo. Good evening to you both, and thank you so much for your time this evening. I'll begin with you, Glynnis. One of the things that, has been said about him is his hard-working nature, his experience in the sector. What was your reaction when you then heard the news that Mr. Thobakgale was to take over the reins?
Well, look, it's a case of anyone's better than Arthur Fraser, for starters. So we're delighted that his contract has come to an end and he's left. The Department of Correctional Services had a terrible slide backwards under his tenure, and we're glad to see the back of him. Mr. Thobakgale appears to be an experienced civil servant. He's been with Public Works for some time, more specifically with harbours, that area. He has a qualification from Stellenbosch University, and he has a good track record. He's the acting national commissioner. We'll have to see what happens about a permanent appointment, but he's got an opportunity to make an impact. He's got an opportunity to show that he can make a difference in this department that's had an abysmal time of it in the last decade and a bit of poor leadership. So this is a wonderful opportunity for somebody who has the capacity and the capability to really make a big impact in a department that is terribly, terribly important.
And Richard, one of the things that, has been very clear is the work that, lies ahead for the acting commissioner, because as Glynnis says, this is a sector, in fact, a department that has been plagued even by understaffing at some point. We then even at some point saw ailing infrastructure, overcrowding in prisons and all of that. Is he the right man for this job?
Yes, I'd like to agree with the speaker earlier on that, in fact, I think according to the experience that he has gained over the years, through the experience that he has, we think that despite the fact that he's not necessarily a full-time correctional official, we think that it could obviously create a good impact. I think we know that since the Bosasa era, when revelations were made, we have been making calls that there needs to be serious changes within the department. And unfortunately, with the last national commissioner, we did not witness any form of progress in that regard. So we believe that he should be given a chance. And of course, I think as an acting national commissioner, he will be given space to prove himself. We think that the challenges that are within the DCS are not only about just changing leadership individuals, but also about definitely changing the culture within the department. And of course, we think that there should be that opportunity for him to actually try and ensure that they turn around the Department of Correctional Services.
And Glynnis, one of the things that we saw even in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry was those contracts that, Richard alluded to when it comes to Bosasa and the Department of Correctional Services. And then at the same time, we saw, issues around, staffing, issues around the rehabilitation of prisoners, issues around overcrowding in some of these prisons. What would you say should be his priority areas as he's now in this acting position?
The Department of Correctional Services is a massive department. It really is a big department, and it's a vital department because, the people who are sent there for incarceration are meant to be rehabilitated and returned to society better people than when they went in. This is clearly not the case, and there's a massive recidivism rate in South Africa. So what the acting national commissioner is going to have to do is he's going to have a look at his budget. It's a big budget. It's a big budget. Definitely not enough. The Department of Correctional Services perennially under-resourced, both in terms of human resources and in terms of finance. He's going to have a look at his budget. He's going to have to make serious priorities, and one of the big priorities must be rehabilitation. That is something that has been neglected woefully under the previous commissioners. So rehabilitation is very, very important. And then we have overcrowding. the conditions in most South African prisons are, in my view, human rights violations. And you cannot keep human beings in those kind of conditions. It's a blight on all of us. We will all be judged by the conditions that they kept in. It's the conditions in our prisons are shocking. And he's going to have to prioritize the overcrowding issue, and he's going to have to prioritize rehabilitation. He's going to have to, have a look at his budget and see where he can squeeze the best value out of every cent. And also, there's a serious paucity of human resources in the Department of Correctional Services.
Now, Richard, listening to that, I mean, one knows that South Africa has an approximately 85% when it comes to inmates who reoffend, and that is an alarming rate. And here on the channel last week, we're speaking to two, ex-offenders who are saying that for them, it's the process of rehabilitation. They go into prison, they can take up a course and study, but when they leave, they're not even able to find work. And that is something that also becomes an impediment to, living almost like a clean life, if I can put it that way. How then does he begin to marry the two to ensure that whatever steps are being taken inside to try and implement some kind of corrections, at the same time, employers do extend themselves towards employing some of these ex-offenders?
Yes, I think, look, the fact that we've got overcrowding and understaffing means basically that there's no form of rehabilitation which is happening within our correctional centers. And by the way, this is the core function of the department. So without dealing with, we have obviously made suggestions. And we think the fact that the department has obviously been putting out different services out for tender, which could be done by the very same inmates themselves, in ensuring that they give them certain levels of skills, which would obviously ensure that when they are released, they can sustain themselves, because currently they're just lying idle, and of course they're joining different gangs within correctional centers. So the department needs to be self-sustainable in ensuring that the clothes that inmates wear, the furniture that they use, and all other facilities are those that they produce themselves. And of course, even the food that they make as well, because currently it's been taken out for tenders. That would obviously ensure that they get sufficient skills so that the time they are released, they can actually sustain themselves. Besides the fact that the unemployment rate is high currently in the country, and of course, we've got many other people who are unemployed who have not even been to correctional centers, demonstrate the need to ensure that we refocus the entire department in its entirety. And we believe that through such interventions, you can then ensure that you capacitate the department, but as well as ensure that you give them the capacity to fend for themselves beyond the incarceration. Currently, it is not possible, really.
Glynnis, for you, when you look at the issue of overcrowding, where does he begin, very briefly, where does he begin to tackle this?
Well, the biggest problem in the correctional services, in my view, is remand detainees. And that's a systemic problem. I think that, as the Department of Justice, Department of Correctional Services, the National Prosecuting Authority and the judiciary we should all sit together, put our heads together and find a solution for the problem surrounding remand detainees. There are so many people kept in prison for long periods of time who have bail of under 2,000 Rand, but they do not have the ability to pay the 2,000 Rand. Now, 2,000 Rand really is not going to make you stand trial or stop you running away. So we honestly have to revisit the issue, the whole issue, the holistic issue of remand detainees. That would be, in my view, a very good start. And then we've got to look at improving, upgrading the prisons that exist, and we've got to build more prisons. You can't have people, 50, 60, 70 people in a cell that's designed to accommodate 20 or 30. It's not healthy. It's not designed to accommodate those kinds of numbers, and it causes all kinds of social problems, and it prevents any kind of possibility of rehabilitation, because the prisons are so overcrowded that inmates are locked up for long periods of time, where in a prison that wasn't so overcrowded, they would have the opportunity of moving around more freely, learning skills, studying, and getting things done. So The entire prison system in South Africa really does need a relook, needs a revamp. But the Commissioner with overcrowding should really start with having a look at the problem of remand detainees and call in the assistance of all of the departments to assist him in addressing that problem.
All right. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you to you both for your time this evening.